for me, and I feel to others as well, is they basically just remind us that everything is sacred. Like they give us now the ability to remember that everything is sacred, that life itself is sacred. Yes. So of course they are sacred because they are literally like the platform. Anything that reminds you of your sacredness has to be treated as like the most precious thing, because it's literally like the hand in a way, that the hand of God, the hand of Guru, we say, that guides us into that state, into that space of realizing that everything is indeed sacred. And without giving that, giving this hand in a way our precious, like the I wouldn't want to say worshipping it, but like
Gratitude,
appreciate.
respect.
Yeah. Then from wherever you are, please come into a sitting position. And you can close your eyes. We're going to be tuning in. Take a couple deep breaths just to arrive in the space in your body. You can scan through the body and just consciously allow tensions to leave you, release stress, and just drop it. And then please bring your hands together into a prayer pose in front of the heart center. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Again, deeply inhale and fully exhale. We're going to be tuning in with the mantra Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times. I bow to the wisdom and the teacher within myself. Deeply inhale, completely exhale, and then inhale to chant. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And then inhale, gently hold the breath in, expand into the space. And exhale, relax the posture. Take a moment just to experience the space, and your presence in the space. And then inhale and exhale and relax.
Well, thank you for bringing us in, Hans Jot. Wherever you are, wherever you're from, whatever time it is, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. I have the pleasure to sit in front of Hans Jot. I heard his voice, I think, many years ago. I think my daughter was 4 or so. That's 9 years ago almost, on the Kundalini Yoga Festival. And I was so amazed because I was a person looking for myself. It was some troubled times, and I heard a young man singing so calm, so clear, and that was you. So thank you so much for coming here today, Hans Jot.
Thank you for having me. It's beautiful, beautiful space.
Satnam. Where are you now? Tell us, where are you now at this moment in life?
Right now I'm in Hamburg, and I just came back from the UAE, and we'll go back soon as well. But right now I'm in Europe. Yes.
And if you had to say where you're now as a person in life, where are you now?
I'm arriving, I would say. So interestingly, I feel like the standard path, the standard spiritual path, is a bit like, we all sort of like feel attached to a degree to Earth. Like we arrive, on this Earth, and then we're like, oh, we like I'm here in this body, and I do my job and all these things, and then eventually something sort of like changes, or you sort of like follow a certain longing perhaps you have, and then you start a spiritual path, and you look to the stars, metaphorically speaking, and you start to realize that there's more than just the physical, in a way. And when I feel into this, it's almost like the opposite. It's like my biggest thing, in a way, like maybe challenge, you could say, or purpose, I don't know, yeah, is to arrive, actually, like to accept the physical reality of myself on Earth. So I feel like over the last couple of years, my main spiritual mission, in a way, was, and still is, to fully crystallize, to fully arrive in this body, and to accept my presence here on Earth, because I can sort of easily just become vast and realize that I'm, not even here, that I'm an illusion, in a way. But like at the same time, we are asked to be fully present in the body, to create, yes, to materialize, and to allow things and beauty and splendor, yes, to materialize along with it. And that's sort of where I am. I'm arriving, and I'm crystallizing in this physical presence. That is me. That is this human body. That is, my mission, my creative expression on Earth. So yeah, that's where I am. Yeah.
So have you tapped in your roots like fully already, or you like I'm still just tapping into the earth? How far have you arrived with your
How
roots?
far have I arrived? I'm still arriving, I would say. It's I'm getting closer and closer to the surface, let's say. It's like, one of
Oh,
those Tesla rockets that is sort of like docking in, that's sort of where I am.
oh my
But I
gosh.
would say
So if you're saying that, and you're saying, well, I'm just starting to crystallize, and my creative essence is coming to fruition. So are you saying that there's a lot more to come? I mean, I find you already quite creative in your singing and etc. But is that is that is it? So are you saying that there's a much more to come once you really earthed and connected?
I would say yes. I would say yes. I mean, there's definitely much more to come, creatively speaking. I would say I just created the biggest piece, the biggest composition of my life. I have a kid now. That's what I'm, talking about as well. So basically, he's already almost 5 years old. So I would say, along with that, materializing of a new life, basically, yes. I sort of was very encouraged, let's say, by the universe to fully arrive as well, because like now you have another life that you care for, yes, which is, my child, my family, my wife, and you can't just like sort of float, float in the air, float in the ether all the time. You have to, yeah, really like be in this body as well, fully present in the body. I feel like there's sometimes a tendency in the spiritual realm that, yes, we want to go somewhere and want to reach, enlightenment and nirvana and all these things. But in a way, I feel like this is already, like, in a way, a given. We are eventually, ultimately, all going back to the source. Yes. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense to always just dream about going back when you have not fully accepted your incarnation, right? And when you give birth, I mean, like when you have a child, then you are definitely asked by life itself to be fully present. And I would say that definitely helped me a lot, and encouraged me a lot to really like yeah, to fully arrive. So I would say I'm definitely in a different space than I was, for example, let's say 5 years ago. And along with that, I would say there is more creative. It's yeah, creative output as well. It's different, yes, because now you're asked to sort of like manage time differently, manage your own body differently, like your time and your body differently, because now you sort of like share the space with your family, with your child, and everybody has needs in a way. But I feel it's been very beneficial to me and my spiritual path as well. Yes.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Exciting, isn't it, to have a life that is dedicated to somebody else, something higher than you, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating because some people from early age on, they know already that they're going to be having a family, they're going to be a father or mother, yes. But for me, it was never really clear, honestly. Like, I would have been okay, without that blessing, I thought, yes. Um, and then when it actually happened, it was a complete different, like it opened a completely different dimension of myself, like a different aspect of myself that was not really living it because I was not really a father, right? And once it actually happens, like there's another world literally opens up for you, another facet of yourself is unfolding, and you are asked to step into it. And I feel like now I would say it's actually the highest blessing that you can receive, not just for the other life, but also for myself, in the terms of like growing into my potential, growing um, into someone that is unconditionally giving, yes, unconditionally being present, and being in this mode of giving and being present is it's such a blessing, and at the same time it is of course very challenging, right? Because it's in a way you're relentlessly asked to be present, because if you're not, then something happens, and it's not nice, right? And a child is like a very pure and innocent kind of reflection of your state, the state of the parents. So in a way they are indeed our greatest teachers, because you are full of love and full of care, but at the same time, yes, you are asked to become a better version of yourself.
In that way, you are also arriving in a man who's not just the young
Yes,
man
yeah.
traveling the world, experiencing the world, and for that reflecting
Mm.
on himself. You are also arriving as the man who can hold a space for your family. So
Indeed, indeed.
that's so beautiful.
It's like
Congratulations! I
another archetype unfolds, the archetype of the father, yes. And then
Yeah.
there's different archetypes that we know of, right? Like the hero, setting out to protect and to you know to find new pathways, and then eventually maybe the king, which is it's an archetype as well, where you like hold space for not just yourself, but you have the like, I wouldn't want to say subjects, but as a king, you have a responsibility for not just like your family, but eventually like the community, and like it's an archetype that we sort of like only starts to unfold if you sort of unlock the archetype of being a father. Yes, so that it's like a step before, of course.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. I can remember that. I have one daughter. She's 13 almost. But
okay,
I do believe that there's two things I think. It was about learning what really unconditional love was. I think the thing you might have gotten from your parents, maybe not, huh? But once you have
Mhm,
your own child, and as a conscious Kundalini yoga
mhm,
teacher, I think you really step into that field. Okay, how can I be unconditionally loving here and be present?
mhm,
And the other side, what I also experienced was, oh, this is what it means to sacrifice,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
The other teaching
Yeah.
what I remember was, Oh, being happy, you need to know how to sacrifice.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
who did you sacrifice really for if you didn't have a child? Yeah,
right,
I
right.
must admit, your relationship, your partner, maybe,
Mhm,
but for your child, you really do, right?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, I would say the main thing to sacrifice. I would say what we are asked to sacrifice is a certain version of yourself that, like, a version of yourself that is not that is like a past version of yourself. So in a way, we are asked to become a different version of yourself. And I'm just neutrally saying it, like it doesn't have to be better or worse version, but like a different version of yourself. And we are all, especially as before we became parents, we were just like navigating life in a certain way, and it worked in a certain way, right? And so we are in a way programmed, you know conditioned in a certain way. We have certain habits that work for us, or maybe not, but like, we have a certain pattern that we follow. And when things change in such a way, it's a new family, new relationship, or a child, then things change and have to change. We are forced to change in a way, yes. And I feel like that is actually the biggest sacrifice that is being asked of us, is to let go certain aspects of our life that we maybe even enjoyed, you know, and to let them go and become something else, and to develop into something else, to create new patterns and new habits that work for this new setting. And some of these changes are really painful, and I see that, not just with myself, but also looking around at people that I know that also became parents, like, and transition into, like, now being a full, a present parent, to let go of the ways, the old ways of the things that you used to like and used to do, is not an easy thing, and I would say perhaps the most challenging thing as a fresh parent is to really fully embrace this new you. Yes, and that is definitely a sacrifice, and it's, I would say, always in a way, painful. But at the same time, I do feel that the blessing that you receive through that is even greater than that. So I can just, like, to anyone who's listening, not yet being a parent, and thinking about it, perhaps I can only say it is definitely the biggest blessing. But it's not something you can just explain to someone who hasn't experienced it, because it's like, in a way, it's very unique to your constitution. But at the same time, I always feel like it's also not very special, because almost everyone can become a parent, right? So it's kind of interesting to look at it, because it's such a common thing in a way. Yes, everybody sort of like can become a parent in some way or form. But at the same time, it is still the most unique and special. And I always call it like a nuclear fusion that happened. Like, part of you is literally in there. And it's just something you can't explain. You have to really, like, experience it in order to really grasp the blessing that is coming through that transformation.
And when we talk about this transformation, did your practice, your Kundalini yoga practice, assist you in that, or what would it have been if you didn't have Kundalini in your life?
Right. I would say definitely yes. Definitely supports me ongoing, in an ongoing way, through many challenges that I have and had. Even before becoming a parent, I always feel like there's a certain space, which I call, my sadhana space. My own practice, that space where I can just be with myself and with my own demons. Because we transform, we go through the stuff, we go through the subconscious stuff that we sort of like, still perhaps store, and the ongoing things that we need to process in our lives. And this is like a very private space, very intimate space, you with yourself, with your higher self, and ultimately in communion with the divine. Yes, and that space is something that I think everyone should be nurturing and cherishing. Without it, I would say it's a bit like walking into the wild unprepared, like knowing that there's going to be wild animals and forest and losing your way, but having no compass, having no map, having nothing, that to me, I I would imagine a life without this sacred space in a way. Yes, the Kundalini space, the sacred sadhana space, in some way or form where you are sitting with yourself. Without that, I would say it's like just setting out unprepared, and I would not want that. Yes.
And how long have you actually been on the Kundalini? I think it's quite some time, isn't it?
Yeah, so I started 2010 with Kundalini yoga. Before I was meditating, I was practicing TM, Transcendental Meditation, for a good while. So my mother, I grew up with some Buddhist mantras. So my mother is a practicing Buddhist, and I received some of those elements as well when I was a child. But was not really like actively practicing, but like received sort of like as an ingrained wisdom, perhaps. Yes, knowing some mantras, Buddhism. But then later, yeah, decided to practice some Hatha yoga and the transcendental meditation and Kundalini yoga. I started 2010, and I would say, the reason why I started was just like it was just so much more, like it was more intense than anything I experienced before. And at this time, I was still longing for something that would be intense enough to really go deep and to, unlock and, allow me to release subconscious energies that I was not yet able to grasp with just a, sort of like mellow version of meditation, which in a way I feel transcendental meditation it's beautiful, but it's compared to some of the practices that we do in Kundalini yoga, it's sort of mellow, gentle, like it's maybe slower as well. Like, it's still meditation, right? And meditation is just meditation. It's processing your subconscious stuff, but in a way we can also like increase the pressure, right? And then more stuff comes out in a way. So that is what I would connect to Kundalini yoga practice, the intensity of it. And it's more painful, it's more challenging in many ways, but then also like more things are coming up and you're like asked to go through it in a quicker way rather than, in a mellow, gentle way sometimes. Yeah.
And when was the time that you really understood, wow, this box of tools is really the depth that I'm looking for?
I would say I would say almost instantly, honestly. I remember the first meditation that I did in Kundalini yoga was like a meditation where you had to hold out your arms to the side and you circle them and then you chant harder to it. And it was for 11 minutes. And I remember I was like, there was a lot of emotional energies coming up, a lot of anger, sort of like, this, like held on emotional energy. And I would say I was almost instantly hooked because I just realized how powerful it was in that moment. And also like in a way in context, because I already knew how it feels to meditate, to sit, for hours sometimes, and to also practice some other forms of yoga, which were also more gentle at this time for me. And then sort of thinking, oh yeah, I already have tools, I already have a set of tools that, but then experiencing just this little meditation of Kundalini and realizing there's just so much more, so much more intensity that can be used to unlock and release those things. I would say I was almost instantly hooked to it. And then another thing I realized quickly after that was that there was already so much literature out there, like literally books, that you could literally just buy yourself, like, I don't know, 2, 3 books and just practice on your own without necessarily having to go to a class, finding a teacher. In that moment, I mean, there was like already so much opportunities and options to just do it every day, right? And for me, what was important is, or is still important, is that I sort of like feeling that I can be, let's say, independent to some degree to in the way I practice, that I don't have to constantly ask someone, how does this go, how does this sequence go, always having to be in a class. But like, you can go to a class, and of course there's a different space if you are in a class, yes, if someone guides you. But then you could just like go home and just continue to practice every day, and like find your favorite meditations, favorite sets, and just like easily make a daily practice. That was something that was very appealing to me. And and I just never stopped, honestly. After that, I quickly went to my first white tantric. Even before doing teacher training, I was already like, just going to the one of those European Kundalini yoga festivals, doing the white tantric without, still kind of green, and yeah, again, a super intense experience. And then yeah, just ongoing. Quickly after that, went to an ashram and just like doing sadhana every day, already hosting the space, a sadhana space for people that would come to the ashram, and then and then starting my teacher training, and then yeah, basically just like, and I from that moment on, I basically never doubted it in a way. It never stopped. And just like ongoing practice. Yeah.
It sounds like you already did that in a previous life. It was like, oh, hey, I'm back again.
Right, like
You'd had no
just like
problems, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Honestly, I feel like I was just picking up where I left in a way. Maybe. Um, yeah, I would say definitely. If not Kundalini yoga, then definitely the space that it creates. There's like, I would say there's something that I call the sacred space. Yes, where you realize the connection, the divine connection through the space, through this, sensitivity of the space, and you realize that you are not just like this individual particle in a way. Yes, you are connected, interconnected with the environment and the universe ultimately. And knowing that space, I would say, and experiencing that space through the practice of Kundalini yoga, that was definitely a memory. And in a way, even like a memory from this life, because I did remember back then, before I started with Kundalini yoga, that as a child, as a young child, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years old, I was literally like looking out of the window and sort of like feeling, um, I'm just imagining everything for myself. I'm literally creating that imagination, that reality for myself. That was what I was sort of like. Um, yeah, I had this state as a child, and then later, after many years of like sort of forgetting it in a way, or trying to fit in. You could also say fit into like the reality of the physical, um, kind of losing it. So in a way, I feel like with Kundalini or with meditation in general, it was like a reclaiming of that state that I did remember, at least mentally. Yes, I did remember as a child. So yeah, it was, yeah. And when I experienced that then later as a young adult already, it was like an immediate click, because I sort of like had this state as a child. I believe almost every child probably has it to some degree, and then we, of course, like we get dense, and materialize further, and we lose it. But yeah, I would say as children, as babies, we come in, we're still very vast and very connected to where we just came from,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's the whole game of it. Well, if you can call it a game, it makes it a bit lighter, eh?
Yeah.
That we have to get lost and then we can find something again. It's when you get lost, you
Mhm.
can get found again, right? Um, and so it's just not that I want to compare, but I was also in the space of Buddhism first, and then I released Buddhism because I thought it was a bit, at the place where I was going to the temple, it was sometimes a bit dogmatic. And in the
Mhm.
Kundalini yoga space, there were some teachers that are dogmatic very much and how you have to be, and some that are more supporting you to find your own way. Um,
Right.
and um, and you touched on the subject of sacredness.
Mhm.
Is it important to we haven't talked about this a lot in this podcast, but is it important to treat these teachings sacred, or is it a difference, to your opinion,
A difference to what?
to not treating it as something sacred?
I'm treating sacred. Well, I would say there's not a good reason to not treat anything as not sacred, because
Mhm.
we are part of life, and life itself is sacred. And if we do not treat something as sacred, as part of life, then in that instant we already lose the connection to the sacredness of life, right? So I try to treat anything as sacred as much as possible. And when it comes to something in the teachings itself, what they do to me, for me, and I feel to others as well, is they basically just remind us that everything is sacred. Like they give us the ability to remember that everything is sacred, that life itself is sacred. Yes. So of course they are sacred because they are literally like the platform. Anything that reminds you of your sacredness has to be treated as like the most precious thing, because it's literally like the hand, in a way, that the hand of God, the hand of Guru, we say, that guides us into that state, into that space of realizing that everything is indeed sacred. And without giving this hand, in a way, our our precious, like I wouldn't want to say worshiping it, but like
The gratitude, the
appreciate,
respect.
yeah, the respect, yeah, would be like denying, in a way, or dismissing the one thing, the hand of guidance that is leading us into that space. So I would say it's something to really put on the altar, we say, right? Like to put it somewhere special, where you like just looking at it, just like remembering it, just thinking about it, makes you realize, there's something that is sacred. There's this space where I can reconnect. Yes. So yeah, I would say without treating it as something sacred, then why doing it? Like, yes, I would say yes,
Hmm.
essential.
Hmm. Yes. Hey, and were you singing before or after the Kundalini yoga? When did it happen? When did you like understand that your chanting, your voice was a gift and a something you had to share?
So my journey with my voice is interesting as well in that context, because I was already like a musician, a practicing musician, before Kundalini yoga. But in a way, without knowing what was missing, I always felt like something was missing. And also, like in the feedback that I would receive from others doing music, I always felt like there was another expectation of me as a musician. Like people would say something like, "You have to be singing more emotionally," for example, or like you have to, like, it has to be more raw or something. It's too shallow. That was the feedback that I would receive before, like doing pop music, all different kinds of like genres in music. And I, in a way, didn't have that gate where I felt I could just like go through it and fully open emotionally, just singing a pop song. Yes, in hindsight, I would say I didn't even know who I was singing to, you know, because pop music, and most of the entertainment industry, the pop music, and what are you singing for and who are you singing to it's a bit like, you sing to another, I sing to another woman, or I sing about my pain, it's like a personal thing. But in a way there was always like an instance missing, which is now I would say like singing towards the highest version of myself, like my higher self in a way, to God, you could say, to the divine, yes. And in the moment I was allowed to be in that space, we call it devotional space, devotional singing, right? Where you basically just express something that you feel, something that you sort of like sense and hold on to and, perceive, and you give it back. You give it back to the source, the creator, yes. That to me really changed everything. Not just like poetically speaking, but energetically, something shifted in that moment where I could just give it back. I was not talking, chanting to another person in that moment. I was singing, to the source in a way, just giving it back. And after that, nobody gave me the feedback that I was, holding back emotions or something. It was always the opposite. It was like, oh yeah, I could also open, I could, feel, I could, sense myself. So everything shifted for me when I shifted my direction in a way. Yes, and then it just flowed. Also, like physically speaking, anatomically speaking, I was practicing a lot before, like a lot of like vocal techniques, scales up and down, and still do that. But that was technical, but I feel like if you don't have a direction where you're singing to, then it sort of like stays technical. And for me personally, some people maybe can do that, but I can't fully open if I don't know who I'm singing to. If that gateway is sort of like closed and I'm singing on a personal level, that just didn't work for me for some reason. And singing it to a higher, you know, world in a way, it energetically shifted something immediately, and I would be able to fully use my body, fully use my diaphragm, not feeling tensed in the body anymore, and just like it just literally just dropped into me, like, and then from there just like expressed almost effortlessly, and I'm sure the technical exercise that I did before still were useful to basically be able to just allowing the body to be a vessel of that, to have the muscles that are strong enough. These things are important, but yeah, becoming that container, that vessel of wisdom devotionally, that shifted everything for me. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of recognize that. I when I was growing up young, we had these karaoke things. You're Asian, I'm Asian. And the culture does karaoke, and then they picked. My parents always thought, "Oh, you have a voice. You have a voice. You sing. You should sing." But I didn't feel it. But I could sing. And then once you discover the mantras, and I
Mhm.
think there was something about surrender. My whole body, I could even sing from the lower belly, and it
Mhm.
wasn't difficult to keep a long breath, etc. It just was your body is just full
Yeah, it's like the
aligned with
body
it.
knows. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. Yes.
beautiful. Yeah. Hey, what are you've done so many mantras, and I'm very grateful because some of yours I use for my meditation. So thank you very much personally, especially
To
the
be of
ones that you
service.
can repeat. Tell us something about your favorite mantras, and and maybe a teaching that lies behind that, what it does for you.
Mhm. Well, I mean, all the mantras in many ways special because they sort of like tap into different facets of the whole. Yes. But the one mantra that I sort of always come back to as a go-to default sort of mantra is Vaheguru, Vaheguru. Yes. So whenever I'm like sort of improvising or like just singing openly without necessarily having to stay to once with the mantra because of the practice, it's Vaheguru. Vaheguru is like and it instantly opens up like a gate to the ethers, yes, to the source. So Vaheguru, Satanam, close follow to that. That's my go-to sound in a way. And
And
the practice behind it is exactly that. It's like a gateway that you open instantly to the devotional state of yourself. Yes, to let go of your duality, of your negativity, to all the trauma and to the drama that we still hold on to. And it's like, wow, it's like, everything is, wow, it's like just an awe of Guru, of the gateway to higher consciousness, to the light, to that divine experience. So, Vaheguru.
and do you feel that when you sit in front of the crowd, because you've been singing quite a lot in front of crowds?
Yeah.
I imagine you sometimes really feel this great Wahai Guru when everybody's chanting with you.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely amplifying, and this is also one of the reasons actually why chanting in that way was so different to what I did before, because of the crowd, because of the people. So in a way, instead of like being the performer that had to sort of like entertain, one of my teachers always said entertaining. So you basically put something into the others. Yes, as an entertainer, you put something in someone else. So it's like, in a way, it's actually distracting. It's distracting others from themselves. And as someone who's like in devotional music, we don't try to distract people from themselves. We try to do the opposite. We try to open or have that space opened so people experience more of themselves. Yes. So it's not entertainment in that way, it's entertainment. It's like having that space to more sense and feel and experience yourself. And doing that along with a crowd, with the community, is a bit like it's amplifying that effect. It's like we co-create all the same space of sacredness, yes, and connection and devotion, and we realize that we are all just containers, seemingly separate from each other, but ultimately not. And co-creating that space of connectivity is something very, very powerful. And having experienced that for the first time, I realized there was no coming back from that. It was just like, I would leave the space and feeling drained, having less energy, like going from a high, and then crashing into a low. But coming from a chanting, it's the opposite. It's like a sustained high, and everybody's feeling the same way, of like feeling more energized after that. That is something very different to what I've experienced as a performer before. And I really realized almost instantly after that, after my first experience as being a chanter, holding space for chant, there was no coming back from that experience, because it's just so more precious, I feel.
And do you? I'm assuming you also did that during COVID, where you had to go only online on Zoom. I mean, I feel
Mhm.
it when we chant across, right? I mean, you're not present with me, but if you would chant, I would chant. I would definitely,
Right,
there would be a shared space. Can you
right.
explain that?
Sure. So in my experience, of course, like when I sing in front of a Zoom call, let's say, yes, in front of like in a virtual space, then I still, so the technology is still not there that I actually hear the other people's voices, right? But interestingly, also now that I'm sort of used to that, just like chanting, but still the effect is still there. Even though I don't hear the other people, it's like something is transmitting through the quantum field, and I can feel it. And everybody can feel it too, interestingly, because everybody is also just like sitting in front of their screen and just like singing by themselves in a way, acoustically, yes. But something is transmitting through this quantum grid, and it still works, I would say, as strongly as me actually sitting in the same physical space. It's maybe a bit less pleasant because I'm not hearing it, but the effect, I would say, is as strong, interestingly. Same with like when I, a healing session, through the distance, or a yoga class through the distance. It's a bit different on the surface level. Yes, the sensical experience of this, the sensual experience is different. But I feel like on the in the space, in the subtle space, it's as strong or even stronger. Yes, but like, I would say the same effect. So. And yeah, and of course, like now we are all used to being in front of cameras, in front of the screen, so it's different, I would say. But I'm actually glad that it exists, because it opens up so many more um, possibilities to connect, even though you are not in the same space. And then every now and then coming together into in the same space, organizing a festival, yes, like the White Light Festival in the Netherlands. It's still, of course, super special, yes, to be in the same physical space and to connect on a human level, on a physical level as well. And yes, but like, yeah, the space just works. Yeah, it's interesting. Fascinating.
Yeah, I was also quite, because we start to organize these every 3 months, the around the equinox and the solstice, an online space
Right.
where we said, not everybody can be there at the festival.
Right.
Festivals take time, they take money, they take travel. But whenever I went to a
Certainly.
festival, I saw that all we need is a vibration, and that vibration, it would be so beautiful if we can share that vibration. So with the Wildlife Festival and the Kundalini Yoga Club, we said no. So we're gonna do the physical Wildlife Festival in January, and
Right.
to which very grateful that you're coming. I'm looking forward to meet you in person.
Mhm.
But also let's organize things more online, because it has such a power. You're right. It has an opportunity to share this vibration and touch people all over the globe.
Right.
So that's why we're doing it on the 21st of December, and
Right.
24 hours
Yeah.
long. So it's so beautiful that you're a teacher and you're a singer. But I must say, I think the mantras and the Shabbats, they are the easiest teachings to experience without trying to understand it. You just tap in, even if you don't know the mantra, you just feel it,
Right.
right? It's so powerful and yet very accessible.
Right. Yeah, that's also like a reason why many people get drawn into the Kundalini yoga space through the music, because they just, for some reason, find themselves in a class, yeah, somewhere, and then, not knowing really what to do, perhaps, but like then listening to the music, starting to chant, even though the mantras might be very foreign, but then just like connect to the music and instantly having that experience, and then realizing, oh wow, this is something, perhaps, yes. And I would also say, like, as a teacher, my experience with transforming the energies of a space, because that's what a teacher sort of like acknowledges. We hold space for the transformation in a class, or in a way. And then using mantras, I feel it's like, interestingly, the most, even though it's so accessible, yes, it's I would say the quickest way, the most efficient way, in my experience, to switch and to shift into a different state. Sometimes instantly, yes. So I would say that the sound current, yes, the nad, is in a way the underlying, the not just the tool, but in a way the frequency that is underlying even like the physical aspect of the teachings. Yes. And it's just, it goes very quickly. Yes. And as you say, it allows also people that are not yet familiar with the sequences in Kundalini Yoga, the kriyas, or how meditation goes, but through the music, you sort of like bypass the mental barrier. Yes, the doubts and the hesitation, the fears that we have, that we hold on to, and it's just like just by doing it, we almost instantly get into a different state, and we experience ourselves in a deeper way. Yes. So I would
Isn't
say
that
that that's why
yeah?
it's so
Isn't that
powerful.
so awesome? I find it so. I was in Barcelona last week, or Girona, somewhere there, on a Duk Banjan, on a kirtan night, and it
Mhm.
was hosted by Guru Kar, and she leads a group of Nad yogis in that region. And she
Mhm.
explained to me that exactly what you said. It's not just about singing a mantra; it's about singing to whom, and also she mentioned something like the rag, what kind of intention you put into the singing, and not just to whom you sing it, but the intention. And when I practiced that, it was so powerful. All of a sudden,
Right.
um, um, I could really feel the difference, and it's so fast. It's just yeah, almost
Uh,
instantly, and it's a, and I came to get this I don't know whether it's a secret understanding, but something happened to me this year because I visited many festivals. So I spoke to Guru
mm,
Ganesha, different
mm,
artists like you, and I must say you are. I think the mantra artists are the new. I wouldn't say it's a missionary, but the peacemakers maybe of this
mm.
age. I really feel that because by you leading the crowd, whether it's online or offline, you open up that space where we all feel united, right? And it's
Mhm.
so powerful that you're doing that. And that's why I was so happy when you said, I'm just arriving. So I went like, oh, we can expect a lot more from you.
Mhm.
And tell me about as a teacher, you travel around the globe to teach, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. And
Um, yeah.
and what does mm, why is teaching Kundalini yoga so important to you next to chanting?
Important. I wouldn't necessarily describe it like that. I wouldn't
Mm,
say that it's important for me to do these things. Almost like the opposite. It's like because when I say it's important for me to do this and that, it implies in a way that I have a need to do that.
mm,
You know, and I would say part of my arriving is to actually not need to do that, to not do need to do anything really. Um, but we all have our inherent gifts. We have our inherent things that we as a soul want to experience in this human lifetime. And these are blessings, these are gifts, these are maybe challenges, that we sort of like want to experience, want to give, yes, or want to receive. And when I feel like, traveling and sharing the teachings, sharing the sound, it's not so much that I feel like it's important to do that, but I feel like it's neutrally speaking, it's like I'm I came here to do that because it's part of myself. It's like it has been given to me, so I am asked by the creator to share what has been given to me. Yes, but there is not really like a personal need to do these things. Does it make sense? It's like I'm asked to do that, so I just in a way I just obey. Yes, um, and find good ways to do that. Obviously, like then there's it's an art form. Then to not just like to just do it somehow. Yes, but like then to find ways and containers, create containers, and organize yourself on a worldly level to then present it and then to deliver it in a accessible way, in a beautiful way, in a in a purposeful way. Yes, but it's more like following a call rather than, oh, I have to, because I've been actually like sort of like contemplating on this quite a lot lately. It's like we very often come from a place of justifying our existence. Yes, trying to justify that we supposed to exist. Yes, and that is normally a trauma-driven way of, delivering something.
Because you
Like,
don't need to justify that, right?
because
You already
yeah,
exist.
say again.
Because you don't need to justify it. You already
Yeah, but
exist,
like,
right?
exactly. But like, when we sort of like come from a space in our childhood, let's say, where um, we always had to justify that we are good children. Yes, I'm a good kid, or I'm a good person. Yes, and somehow it was not really received in that way. That of course creates a rift. Yes, it creates a trauma, right? And then later we sort of like try to fix that subconsciously and constantly try to, catch the attention of the people around us and our parents maybe, or later our partner, or society itself, yes, or even our community to some degree, yes. And but still we are still we still in that attempt to justify our existence. We try to convince everyone that we are good, that we are, that we're worthy of love, right? And when we come from that space of justifying our existence, whatever we do, we are fueled by that lack of love. Yes. So we try to justify our existence ongoingly. And whenever we are coming from that space, we are not really like in pure alignment with our gifts, our blessings. Yes, we are sort of like trying to make sense of the things that we sort of like lack. Yeah. And part of the arriving is to not come from that space of justifying my existence, but to really like listen to what it is other people perhaps need or want, or are inspired by. Yes, what I can give. So it's not like I'm fueled by my own fears, but I'm like inspired by ultimately love. Yes, by this experience of elevating each other. Yes. And that is something that I feel like we are on some level going through as a as humanity, like as humans, that we are leaving that space of just constantly trying to justify our existence and coming into a space where we are actually just sharing our gifts, sharing our beauty, sharing our blessings. Yes, and if we all would do that, then this place would be a very different place. Yes? Earth would be basically would be paradise. Yes, if we would all
That's why
just
I
share.
go to festivals. That's really
Exactly.
why I go to festivals, because there's so much sharing going on there. Even it's not just the workshops or the mantra thing.
Yeah.
It's just connecting to people and talking to them, and usually you get the right story, right? The right experience you need. It will just come to you, and we just feel so united.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, just that it's more
mm,
aligned than many other experiences. Yes, and
yeah,
but I would say this is something. This is it's a human thing. It's like these things, like justifying our existence. I mean, like we all, to some degree, like we can find it in a non-spiritual group, but we also definitely do find it in spiritual groups. Yes, um, there's not really like a big difference, besides having, as a spiritually practicing person, you might have tools that are sort of like elevating you out of it. Yes, but I would say it's maybe the topic of the next millennia, honestly, because technologically many things are happening that basically perhaps make this need to constantly work to, like justify ourselves less and less. Yes, so if we are not laboring, when we're not working, when, I don't know, AI or robotics sort of like take over many mundane jobs, let's say, then the question is, what are we here for as human beings? Why are we here? What do we do with this life? Yes, if it's just working and laboring and, like, if that is not the case, then we are basically asked to, okay, find a higher way, an elevated way of, like, expressing ourselves. Yes, and to realize, still realizing that we have a purpose and that we have something to share, something to express, something to give.
And I'll ask you one of the final things, because we're coming to the hour. You said you hear a calling and you surrender to it. You said that a while ago.
Yeah.
It sounds easy, but it's not. How do you, like, why is it need to surrender to a calling, or in your perception?
I would say we all have that. Yes, it's not something special to special people or something. We all have a certain calling of the soul, and I would always just when people talk about destiny and their mission, it sounds so grand. It sounds like a big important thing, but I feel like it's actually not. It's not something. It doesn't have to be like a great grand sort of mission. Yes, it's the way I always describe it is like it's like a frequency of how the expression of the soul wants to come through. It's like a color, yes, or a certain tune. And then the next step would be to find containers to allow that frequency, yes, to sort of like come through. And that can have different forms and shapes. Like it can be through music, artistry. It can be through creating a business, a container for producing things, to create things, to create services and so on, or connect in a different ways. Yes, there's many different ways of like creating containers for this frequency, your frequency, to sort of like come through. Yes, and that calling to listen to your own soul's message, your frequency, I would say to ignore it. It's possible to ignore it, of course, for a long time, perhaps even the whole life, yes, and then next life, and then, but it's like always sort of like wants to come through, because obviously it needs to come through, because that's the reason why we incarnate. The soul wants to experience something, yes, and it might be very unique to everyone's life, but it always sort of like tries to come through. So it might whisper, but it might become louder and sort of yell at you like, hey, you need to do something. And I would say the more we ignore it, that message, yes, then the louder it becomes. And that also means the more violent it wants to come through. Yes, the more we ignore it, the more violent this tries to come through. And this is when we experience hardship. We experience the biggest challenges, the biggest miseries, because we try to ignore something that always wants to come through, because it's the central reason of our us being here, of us having incarnated into in this life. So trying to ignore just makes it more loud and more violent. So once we sort of like have a grasp on what it is, how it feels, that that frequency, that message, then following it is almost like, then the universe can start to, or we actually as beings, we can start to relax, because now we feel that we are being filled by that message, by our soul, yes, that starts to materialize and crystallize into us. And then things start to make more sense. We're going to be having energy, we're going to be having vitality, it's like a miracle that then happens. Alignments just shift, and like we're going to synchronize. We're going to meet the right people, we're going to be in the right spaces, and we're going to have invitations that we didn't have before, we had to sort of like work for, and it becomes more effortless. What we describe as sahaj. Yeah, sahaj, things are starting to flow and become more effortless. That's when we realize, okay, we are on the right path, because we allow this message to come in and to come through us. So again, I would not say it's something that we need to do, but it's the main reason why we are here. So ignoring it just makes it more and more painful the longer we ignore it. Yes.
Sounds
In
like
a
a
way,
good
it's
reason to me.
the simple reason why we are here. Yes. how can I ignore it? You know.
Wow. And maybe that's also a great reason if you're not listening, you're not tuning into that calling. Come to the White Light Festival. Hanji Jot is there, but we have this great program. Are you going to give a workshop too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gonna do a
You
workshop.
know already what it will be, or it will just come down.
I'm someone who's like very much. I have to look it up honestly. I think it's actually around this topic. Yes, it's around this topic of like. It's honestly, it's always around this topic to some degree. Like the whole spiritual path is around this topic of like realizing yourself, basically realizing what you want to do, what you need to do, what you here for. Yes, and then sort of like chiseling the subconscious stuff around it and chipping it away and remembering, and connecting to the sound within. And it's, and in the end, they say there's only one meditation. In a way, I really feel that it doesn't matter which workshop it is. There's only one meditation, that is, are you realizing that you and God are one? Yes, God and me and God are one. Or are you still in the process of realizing that, and there's still like some blocks in between? And the meditation is always that. It's, are you in that state? Are you connected? Are you realizing that? Or are you just still like sort of like fighting it and trying to find a way? Yeah? So that's the meditation. Doesn't matter if you do this breath or this posture and this kriya and that technique. Yes, it's always the same meditation in a way. It's only one.
Yeah, I always sense it like that the soul has different qualities that it wants to learn, and it will want to go through certain challenges or obstacles. It wants to go through it to raise this consciousness how to transcend, and then it's happy. It's like, okay, I transcended. I'm this part of this infinity. I can transcend these obstacles in arriving into Earth, right? So
right. Yes, exactly. And transcending doesn't mean to ignore it or to bypass it. It's more like to working through it in a way, like to process through it. And the moment we don't need that block anymore to remind us of something that happened in the past and so on, that is when those blocks start to just release, and to evaporate. And then we realize we've always been there. Everything we needed was always there. The space we wanted to be in was already there. Everything was already here. We just couldn't connect to it. Yes, we didn't realize it. But yeah, there's nothing that we don't have or need.
Oh, how much I wish we all would easily grasp that. But yeah, so
No, that's that's also the path of life. Like to work through it. It's like climbing a mountain. It's like, okay, let's do that.
yeah. So let's do that with Hans de Jot at the White Light Festival
Yes,
in
please.
the Netherlands. I think it's 14th to 17th of January.
Yes.
There's a link down below. Do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything to the listeners still before we end this beautiful space?
I'm happy to share with you the space at the White Light Yoga Festival in the Netherlands. Please feel invited to connect, to share your story. I'm always happy to be in the space with many people, and to connect, to transform together, to enjoy ourselves in the in the also the interhuman spaces, after the workshop, or after a concert, to just share, to connect.
Yeah, and we also put the link to Spotify. If you haven't heard Hans de Jot, I would really recommend you. Definitely, there's a vibration of peace in his song. So please go and experience that, and you'll understand why you would love to see Hans de Jot on a live stage. At least I am. So hope to see you all there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you
I
so
want to
much.
thank Hans de Jot very much, and enjoy being a father. And see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me again. Yes, bless you. See you
Satnam.
soon. No.